Yep, we're right back. Adirondack Native Historic Preservation. Today we're covering once again the history of the Oneida community in Hamlet, located here in Queensbury, New York. I'm standing on the grounds of the Oneida Community Church, which has been here for over a century. Behind me is the Mohegan Grange, part of the Oneida community. Across the street, there is a historical marker for the Masonic Lodge. It was here sometime around the early part of the 1800s, 1808, 1809, named after Alexander Hamilton. And at the corners, there is a marker, another historic marker, commemorating Thomas Hammond's, which many called him the half-breed Indian, was a storekeeper for many years. So that's just a brief overlay of what we're going to talk about today. The Oneida community, located on Ridge Road in front of the Mohegan Grange. The Oneidas were a place where we purchased supplies in the early days of lumbering in the town. Once again, Thomas Hammond was a half-breed Indian and was a storekeeper. The Oneida Hamlet, located nearby, which some of these buildings today still stand today, are a part of that community. Some of them are not, obviously. The Oneidas were settled in the 19th century here. Many of those homes still in the community ran east and west along Sunnyside Road. This is Sunnyside Road. There's the corner, east and west, and obviously north and south. Henry Perry Smith writes, the first house at the Oneida was erected by Joshua Chase about the year of 1793. The name was derived from a half-breed Oneida Indian by the name of Mr. Hammond. He, with his sister Dinah, D-I-N-A-H, brought here by Captain Green of what became known as Greenwich in Washington County, New York. Some little time previous to the outbreak of the American Revolution, he moved to Queensbury and opened a store, general merchandising in a building which still stands on the corner opposite, fronting the old tavern stand. And here, for many of years, he was engaged in carrying on considerable trade and mixed up with some extent with the lumbering business. Mr. Hammond went on to marry Keziah, Kezia, a sister of James Reynolds of Caldwell, known as today as Lake George. After some failed business adventures, Thomas and Keziah moved to French Mountain, where they later passed away and perished. Author and aspiring historian Austin Wells Holden referenced the Oneida community several times in Queensbury, but no references to Tom and Hammond that I could find. And also no references to Captain Green of the American Revolution time period. Moving on. Marilyn Van Dyke wrote for the town of Queensbury some years ago, before she retired. One of the most prominent hamlets of Oneida Corners was situated at the intersection of Ridge and Sunnyside Roads. It extended both east and west along the Sunnyside Road by the lake. The first houses were built here by Joshua Chase, which references back to not only Smith, but to our first reference. Around 1800, Mr. Hammond, the Oneida Indian, had a thriving business here at the corner, selling lumber and general merchandise. In 1836, Gordons, G-O-R-D-O-N-S, Gazetter, G-A-Z-E-T-E-E-R, describes Oneida as a village 8 miles southeast from Caldwell and 5 miles northeast from Glens Falls, with 2 taverns, 2 stores, a sawmill on Halfway Brook, with about 15 dwellings. As you can remember, just a week or so ago, about 2 weeks ago, maybe now, we covered the Halfway Brook history and its significance. So obviously, the Oneida community has a significance to Halfway Brook as well, which we're just learning today, which is very, very intriguing. As I said, across the road is a historic marker, state historic marker for the Hamilton Lodge, the Masonic Lodge. And we're going to go over there and take a picture of that and share that with you later in the video. Around 1850, Mr. Curtis opened a woolen mill factory hill just north of the intersection. 16 workers were employed in 1859, but the mill failed some time later, and about the time of the Civil War, the decline in sheep production in the town, and the property was burned in 1869. The Mohegan Grange, what we're looking at now, over the years and at the corner of the property, often changed hands, with a stand, tavern, residence, hotels appearing at different times. Some of the business people included Allison Fox, Ben Seeley, Dr. Ripley, Reuben Steele, and several others. The United Community Church, which is right here, dates back to 1802, also known as the Quaker Church, South Ridge Road, was moved to its present site of the United Community Church to serve the Quakers in the time period of the early 1800s. At the west end of the road, the Bears, Odell, and Zverbliss homes are still standing. Out east of the corners is a store mansion home, used to be owned by Judge John Austin, and once owned by the Seeleys. Also prominent, not only business owners in the area, but also writers and some of my other historical findings, businessmen. The Friends Meeting, Oneida Community Church, once again, references to that. The first Quaker meeting house or church was located at the corner of Bay and Ridge. A corner of Bay and Quaker Road, sorry. This building was 20 by 20 log structure and had a separate section for men and women to sit. Later, the second meeting house was built at the corner of Ridge and Cronin Road next to the Friends Cemetery, which is down the road on Ridge Road, which we're looking at right now. The church was moved overland to Sunnyside Road, where it later became the United Community Church, which functions today. The Quaker had a large meeting house in Glens Falls for many years, and these Quakers finally joined the South Glens Falls meeting house as Adirondack Friends. Solomon King Stewart, a Civil War soldier, made his home in Jenkinsville. GWINUPS store, Gurnup's store, originally operated by Doris Branch, was located at the edge of the hamlet at Ridge and Jenkinsville Road. Other hamlets included the Oneida, Harrisina, Brayton, Top of the World,